And essentially, we're going to be talking about something for the next 25 minutes or so that's not really covered. We all talk about, I suppose, female fertility with cattle, and I certainly have for many years. And I have to really take my hat off and say to Ag Research and thank and say both Jason and Francis for the opportunity to speak to you, and for including this topic on the agenda here for this morning's roadshow, would say, of fertility events. It's something that really hasn't been covered to the extent either, I'm sure, here in Northern Ireland, certainly in the South Hill, I would say, as it should be. So, essentially, what I'm going to talk about roughly, just a bit of background to general word fertility, a brief outline of nutritional management goals, and very brief on health, and again, there might be some overlap. Larry has covered the subject very well already, I would say, in terms of transmissible diseases, I would say, for cattle. A small bit in terms of mating management, particularly in relation to young bulls, and then a brief summary overall. So essentially, I don't need to tell this audience the importance of bull fertility, I would say, to a suckler herd. Essentially, and Francis already alluded to it, 80% would say of our calves born to suckler cows throughout the island of Ireland are got by natural service. So essentially, AI, even though we all argue that there's a role for AI in every herd, for many, many reasons, particularly with logistical farm fragmentation, labour and everything else, the vast majority of herds elect to use natural service. So again, obviously, the bull, we'll say then, is a key player, we'll say, in terms of dictating, I suppose, the genetic progress, we'll say, that any one herd is going to achieve over time. And we all know, we'll say, that the bull can be the making or breaking of a herd, we'll say, over a period of years, because certainly if herds their own junctions of that bull, would say, a poor quality bull can leave, would say, in a gentleman mark or less, not for the bull, would say, on a herd over time. The other thing is that, generally speaking, the Francis already alluded to it, would say that, both in the north and in the south, the general herd size is quite small, less than about 20 cows per herd. So obviously then, it's mainly single-sire mating. There's only one, maybe one with a particular group of cows, and obviously if something goes wrong, then, there's a much greater impact, would say, or potential impact, would say, of that on the overall herd. So obviously then from that, the fertility of the stock is absolutely critical, both to the size and the timing of when those calves, the size of the calf crop, and also when those calves are born. If there's any fluctuations in fertility, it will obviously delay when calves are being born, and equally have an impact in terms of overall weaning weight and everything else, the output of the herd for the year. Okay? One area that we've been doing a little bit of work on, and initially more so from a dairy bull perspective, and I suppose really managing young bulls like with AI, and again there's been I suppose a lot of interest in this in the south in particular, we'll say, with the increase in dairy, I suppose expansion of the dairy herd in recent years. But one thing that we've seen very clearly is that the nutritional status of the calf is a major determinant of when that calf becomes sexually active, when it's producing semen, and eligible for breeding as well. And it's obviously the same, would say, with beef bulls. So again, I suppose early life nutrition, looking after that calf well, would say, is important in terms of, particularly, throughout Ireland and the UK, there's a heavy reliance on the use of very young bulls, and normally bulls that go to sales are a lot younger maybe than they are in some other countries. So just in terms of some statistics then, while it's hard to get good hard information on the level of infertility or subfertility anywhere across the world, the few studies that have looked at it would suggest that about 1 in 20 bulls or so can be totally infertile. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. But more worryingly is that up to 1 in every 4 can be subfertile at any one time. And these are the bulls ultimately that will catch us out. In that we think that they might be getting some cows and calf, but it's only maybe, unless we're very vigilant, when we scan the cows, perhaps, in the months of September, October, at housing, that we really see, I suppose, the level or extent of the issues, we'll say, that might have occurred. And one of the reasons is that often we'll say if there's a particular, whether it's disease, and Barry mentioned something already, whether it's, transient infection, an outbreak of bovine squirrel disease, for example, or anything that in any way would injure the bull, would say, and interrupt the normal, I suppose, sperm production within the testes. That can have long-term effects still, because it takes about essentially 70 days before the sperm goes through the full cycle, of being available to actually fertilize an egg. Okay, and then there's a period of storage within the testes, so it's a long process. And anything that happens that interrupts that then can knock out all the sperm or an awful high proportion of them that's there, and it takes a long time before a bull gets back to full fertility again if he does it all. So subfertility then is probably more important and insidious issue, would say, than actual infertility per se, because again, as I say, it's something that's maybe more difficult to detect. And it can be caused by, lots of different things in terms of low libido, and the actual impetus of the bull to actually make the cows or heifers, would say, is low, is lazy, would say, that's one thing. But then equally would say that issues in terms of sperm, I suppose, defects both in the quantity, the amount of sperm he's producing, but also the quality and the motility and the like, would say, of that sperm, okay? And anything obviously then that affects an injury or hurt or whatever would say, or any kind of locomotory or feet issues, also that affects the motility or mobility, I should say, of that bull in getting around and covering the cows, over the breeding season, will obviously have an impact, would say, on its overall fertility and the number of cows it gets a calf. And while a subfertile bull may be able to get some cows pregnant, it'll end up ultimately in low pregnancy rates overall, extended calf intervals going on a lot longer beyond the kind of targets that Francis talked about earlier, reduced calf weaning weights, and the calves are born later in the season, and higher involuntary culling of cows from barriers. In other words, get rid of cows that you wouldn't normally want to get rid of just because they're not pregnant at the end of the season. And really, you'll see all of that unless perhaps that you're dealing with a very low cow to bull race. In other words, we'll say the bull is under no great pressure, or indeed you have a very extended calf season, or breeding season, I should say. And again, there's no guarantee that a bull that starts off, in any one year being, fertile, or was fertile last year, is going to be fertile for the entire season, would say, the following year, or any year beyond that. So again, you have to keep an eye, don't assume at any one stage that because he was alright last year, or he looked to be okay at the start of the season, that he's going to be fine for the rest of the season. So again, vigilance is really, really important. And so, as I say, subfertile bulls can often go undetected because you don't see an awful lot of cows maybe repeating, and it's only really when you scan at the end of the year that you see, that there's a higher than normal incidence of non-pregnant cows. Okay? So essentially, as I say, continually be vigilant, and say record the numbers as cows have been bred, and try to, I suppose, identify if there's a higher than normal rate of repeats within there, and that will ultimately help to be able to maybe get in there, get a substitute bull in, or switch over to AI if absolutely necessary, or do something, let's say, to try to minimise the impact, let's say, of a poor fertility bull before it's too late. So this is a table that was put together. We had a very good conference in Westport, Ontario, sponsored by the British Society of Animal Science last year, where essentially we brought vets in from all over the world to talk about fertility, every conceivable issue on it. And one of them was a colleague of mine, Dory Corrigan, Munster AI Station, who put this bit of data together based on about almost 3,000 bulls that were bought over a 5-year period by farmers that have been signed up, let's say, to a kind of a genomic scheme that we're running in the south, and where there's very good information collected, let's say, on the breeding and management more or less of the herds. And it just looks at all the reasons for culling within those particular herds. So out of that, within that period, we'd say, out of that 2,700 odd bulls, about 300 of them, would say, were culled for a variety of reasons. But essentially, you can see there anything from docility right down to, let's say, injuries, infertility, poor progeny, and then the surplus requirements. But if you look at the main reasons, why do farmers get rid of these bulls? Essentially, injuries and feet and lameness made up, about 45% of those decisions to get rid of bulls. So again, going back to, I suppose, the continued management of the bull, and particularly, would say, during maybe over the winter period as well, to avoid injuries, would say, and to maintain good hoof health. Okay. Interestingly, fertility was only less than 10%, and poor progeny was very, very low. So again, farmers, once they had them, and the bulls were as working for them, were happy enough, would say, to continue on. So just to give a bit of background or context to some of the subsequent slides, would say, again, no more than a jeep or a tractor or anything else, there's a lot of parts that need to work, in synchrony in a bull. And essentially, any one of these can cause trouble in terms of inflammation, in terms of disease, we'll say, or injury. But the testes essentially, honestly, would say, are where all the sperm are produced and they're stored. So they're absolutely central. And the size, and we mentioned talking about it in a minute, would say, the size, would say, and the structure and health of the testes, are fundamental to the overall potential fertility, would say, of any couple. Anybody that know that, that are breeding sheep would say, or buying rams would say, well, always, when you're buying a ram, I'm sure would say, handle the scrotum, handle the testes, would say, in advance of purchase. We don't do the same kind of level. Ourselves as farmers would say, with bulls, and nobody is suggesting that we should be getting in behind bulls or anything like that. But certainly, and I'll talk about it later on, anyone, for that's selling bulls at sales and are purchasing bulls through sales, those bulls will have gone through a fairly significant, would say, breeding soundness evaluation. And again, I have a few slides on that later. Other parts then in terms of the sperm, would say, will travel at the time of ejaculation, would say, through other glands, would say, there to produce, various secretions that support, would say, the sperm once their ejaculation, would say, into the female. And ultimately the penis in terms of, would say, the actual ejaculatory process of breeding the cow. So any injury, would say, to any of these parts or any inflammation or disease, would say, can obviously impact upon the fertility of the womb. So scrotal size, and again it was mentioned, we'll say there earlier by Stephen in terms of the breeding values, we'll say the bulls have that are recorded for some of these, but those values come from actual measurements, we'll say, of the bulls during breeding soundness evaluations. And again we know that the size of the scrotum, we'll say, is obviously related directly to the size of the testes, which in turn, we'll say, have been shown to be positively related to the amount of sperm and the quality of the sperm that the bull produces. So again, that's why scrotal size or scrotal circumference is an integral measure of any bull breeding, would say, genetic evaluation system. And as I say, generally bulls with larger testes overall produce more and better quality sperm. It's also heritable in that it can be passed on, let's say, from one generation to the next. So generally bulls that produce, larger testes will have sons that have larger testes. And there's some evidence, even though it's a bit tentative, would say that there's a positive relationship between the size of the scrotum, would say, of the testes in the bull and the fertility of his daughters. Okay? Now, excessively large, if you're going out buying bulls, would say excessively large scrotum is not something you want either, would say, in terms of it's more susceptible to injury. And as I say, anyone who's buying bulls as part of a sale, or indeed, would say, if you're buying bulls privately, would say, you should ideally try to insist that bull has been properly tested by a vet, say, in advance, and has more or less got a certification that, that there's no obvious issue, would say, with them. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So that's just a few pictures, we'll say, there of kind of a normal size scrotum with a good, no evidence, would say, in terms of the scrotum neck, would say, of excessive fat and evenly sized testes. And again, that is not pendulous. In other words, would say, ideally you don't want it hanging down below, would say, the level of the hocks. These two here then will be examples of scrotum bulls with small testes and with excessive fat, would say, obese bulls probably would say, excessive fat both on the scrotum neck and on the, the skin of the scrotum. And again, we'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, but the ability of the bull to regulate the temperature of the scrotum, would say, is extremely important in terms of its fertility. Okay? So obviously there's a lot of fat here, would say, there. It's insulated, that's the scrotum, that testes, maybe more so, and it also interferes, would say, with the ability of the scrotum, or the testes to move up and down here away from the body. And again, as I said, the next slide will explain it in a bit more detail. So one of the things that we look at in some of the research work that we're doing, would say, is factors affecting scrotal temperature. And normally, the temperature of the testes have to be anywhere from about 2 to 6 degrees lower than the core body temperature of the bull. Okay? And we know, would say, from various studies that increased testicular temperature, whether that be, from very hot weather, for example, maybe we don't get that too much in this island, but certainly in terms of maybe even transient, would say, or chronic inflammation or disease, anything that raises the temperature, would say, the bull, can obviously have an effect, would say, on the temperature of the scrotum as well. And that can reduce semen quality, and it can have latent or long-term effects, on the fertility of that bull. The degree of the effect is going to be dictated by the duration, maybe, of that inflammation, that sickness, more or less, would say, of the bull, and the severity of it. And it can take up to 6 weeks, we'll say, just from the normal sperm, I suppose, machinery, we'll say, or process, to get back to normal again, and the fertility of the bull can take a lot longer, because as I said earlier there's a kind of a lag phase or a period between when the sperm are more or less, let's say, matured and when they're actually available, let's say, to be ejaculated. And as I say, increased blood temperatures can be a consequence of, contraction of disease, an injury, for example, or indeed, over fatness, let's say, or slow area from too high feeding, particularly with older bulls, more so than younger bulls. So then just a few comments, would say, on bull nutrition. And again, as I said already, it's a very complex, I suppose, area in terms of trying to understand the regulation and how nutrition can affect different aspects of fertility. We're doing a lot of work, let's say, with Frisian bulls, would say, in particular, and particularly with young calves, in terms of, I suppose, looking at the factors that affect, let's say, when those calves start producing semen, let's say, and the quality of the semen overall. We've looked at a lot of range of diets from calves that are around 2 weeks of old right through, let's say, to almost a year of age, let's say, there. And again, studying all the different reproductive, let's say, hormones, and from the brain right through, let's say, to the testes, and more or less everything in between. And overall, let's say, there, as I said earlier there, in terms of puberty or the age at which the bull starts producing semen, let's say, regularly, and could potentially be used in a herd. We know that the calves generally, would say, that are well looked after and have good growth rates early in life, let's say, they're able to work and start producing semen earlier, let's say. Obviously, the earlier maturing breeds like the Hereford and Angus will be available for breeding, let's say, at a bit younger age than the likes of your Charlie or Limousin, let's say, more later maturing level. In a mature bull, essentially, would say, the bull can put up with a reasonable amount of fluctuations in energy intake. Nutrient intake overall. But like we know, for example, that bulls around even in water condition can lose up to 10% plus, let's say, of their weight in the first maybe 1 to 6 weeks of the breeding season. Okay? And so long as that level of body condition score loss, let's say, and weight loss isn't too large, it shouldn't have too much of an impact, let's say, overall. But you want to be vigilant to that, let's say, in case that a bull, whether it's a parasite issue, let's say, or it's an injury or whatever it is, that they don't lose too much condition, because we do know that can impact on sperm production. We've shown, let's say, there, another thing that's often raised is, we all know that, I suppose, it's the whole pedigree industry is synonymous with very high rates of feeding, let's say, of young bulls, and getting bulls into, fairly strong condition, let's say, for sales. And again, I suppose it's something that ourselves as farmers need to send back the message to breeders, that if that's what we're looking for, let's say, we need to be choosing our bulls accordingly, because they're generally the bulls that are in better shape, let's say, at sale, or generally the ones, let's say, that do best in terms of competition and ultimately price point. But we do know, let's say, there, from some of our own studies and others there, that, moderate to high rates again, once the animal nutrition of the bull, would say, is carried out properly, then it doesn't have an obvious impact upon the quality of the sperm or the amount of sperm that you produce, or in terms of its capacity to get cows and calf. And we've looked at rates again, we'll say, over and beyond 1.6 kilos a day, right through from a couple of weeks of age, right through to 17 months of age. And we didn't see any evidence, we'll say, of a negative effect on the quality of the sperm, we'll say, or the ability of that sperm to fertilize eggs, we'll say, in cattle. Now, we do know from some studies that where you mismanage, the actual, particularly, concentrate type feeding, high grain, cereal type feeding, where, like as we would if we're finishing cattle on threads, we need to make sure the cattle, let's say, are introduced gradually, let's say, to grain, that they're not going through periods where, they run out of feed and all of a sudden it's introduced again rapidly to them. Because we do know that acidosis, would say, acid building up in the stomach of the rumen, even if there's no clinical symptoms of it, can induce abnormality in the sperm, and that can last up to 3 months or longer, we'll say, afterwards. So again, good feed management, would say, is imperative, would say, for breeders or anyone rearing young bulls. Now, what's probably more important is the long-term effects, maybe not so much actually on the sperm, would say, that's being produced by the bull, but actually the health of the bull's feet, its joints, and its mobility over I suppose, a longer working lifetime. And that's probably more so, would say, potentially an impact of these high cereal type diets, and something that needs a lot more study to back it up. Now, Francis talked a bit about, would say, some work that we did jointly, would say, there a few years ago, when we went out across, herds across both the north and the south of the island, and there was about 6,000 cows, virtually every county across the island would say sampled as part of that study. We looked at different minerals, would say there. Francis already talked about that we found, would say, for example, iodine and selenium on 80% of the herds, more or less, would say, were below the kind of recommended levels. And again, while we didn't measure bulls on those herds, obviously the bulls, the status of the bull would follow, would say, the status of, would say, on the cows. But so again, it's something that we at least keep in the back of your mind in terms of the potential. We do know that while there's a fairly wide tolerance level, would say, for minerals in terms of fertility, both for the cow and the bull, that obviously would say if there's issues, would say, with the uptake of minerals or the status for particular minerals that are related to fertility, you know, it could be a contribution factor, would say, to poor fertility overall. And we do know that certain ones like zinc and copper and manganese that have a specific role in the viability, more or less, of sperm, would say, and production of sperm overall in bulls. Hence, Gary has covered this in good detail already, would say there, and it's just a few general comments that I'm going to make. Obviously, what I don't need to tell you is that the purchase of a bull is probably one of the largest routine investments in any suckler herd, you know, that's made on a regular basis. And it's often, you know, it's obviously something that takes a lot of time and effort, would say, in terms of making a decision. But often after that, then the bull can often be the poor relation to the herd. Maybe doesn't get the care, would say, that it deserves. And certainly it should be, you know, the disease management protocol, would say, should be the same, at least as good as for the breeding herd in terms of prophylactic and preventative care. You know, they should get the same level of vaccination, the same, you know, parasite control, I would say, interventions as well. Obviously, screen for infectious diseases. Prior to that, I mentioned already, would say there, that the number of breeders, and it's probably more prevalent, would say, here in Northern Ireland, would say, in GB, would say, than maybe in the South, in terms of, you know, defined health systems, would say, or health schemes. I know the Limousin Society in the South, would say, has a good scheme, right? But like, again, obviously, all of those kind of things, if breeders are signed up to those, would say, the potential to import or bring by in a bull, would say, that can bring in disease into the herd, would say, is not less than if you're buying from breeders that don't have those kind of systems in place. So I think the advice would be, would say, to try to, in a lot of herds, it's biosecurity, that's the only animal that's being bought in, okay? Particularly for keeping your own heifers as replacements. And a lot of, as I say, main breed societies now have much more, I suppose, strict criteria in terms of testing bulls for various infectious diseases. Again, both Francis and Barry alluded to this piece of work that we carried out again across the entire island there in conjunction with AFBI a couple of years ago, where we looked at, I suppose, the seropositivity or the prevalence, would say, of for a number of different contagious diseases in up to 6,000 cows across the island. And again, as I say, there was variation across herds and within herds. You know, for the vast majority of them there, the leptospirosis, BVD, IBR, or bovine herpes virus more specifically, you know, it ranged from 40 within non-vaccinated herds, from about 40 up to almost 80%, you know, for some of those. So again, it can be an issue. When we look at its influence directly on fertility, it's probably, again, Barry mentioned, would say, the timing of I suppose, infection is very, very important as to what the outcomes might be for a particular herd. But its overall impact maybe on actual fertility might be on the lower end of the scale relative to nutrition and other factors. But for particular herds, it could be catastrophic. So it's very, very important to establish the status of your herd, would say, and to work closely with your vet in terms of, you know, any outbreaks, particularly of infertility. And obviously, all these diseases, would say, have been linked also, would say, to bouts of infertility in bulls. I just mentioned this one here, would say, penile warts. Would say it's not something that's awfully prevalent, but again, it's just something, would say, that if you were buying a bull from a farmer that hasn't gone through a bull soundness evaluation, in other words, the vet hasn't, would say, you know, examined the penis of the bull, would say, there, and given a full, or a DOE would call it, would say, a full test. It's something that you mightn't see actually until that bull starts, you know, to use within the herd. And we carried out we're in the middle more or less of looking at, I suppose, the genetics of fertility in herds at the moment as part of a non-farm study. And we did an in-depth breeding evaluation, soundness evaluation, on about 300 young Frisian bulls, so about 13, 14 months of age, on herds there over the last month. And we recorded, would say, about maybe 3 or 4% prevalence of, you know, these warts on, you know, and they can be quite insidious looking things, would say, big, like kind of cauliflower shaped, we'd say, you know, the range from that to very, very something that you hardly notice at all. But again, it can, I suppose, not alone affect the quality of the semen. You can see that's just a sample there taken off this particular bowl. You know, and there's very much contamination of blood, I would say, as well, which obviously is not going to have a good influence on the sperm. But also, worse again, it can be passed on to cows, okay, as part of that. So again, obviously, the bulls that go through are checked in advance of the same by vet, they won't get the same, you know, and they will be, you know, they know more as pulled out of the system. While it's a lot more so for young bulls, you know, you might have a bull there and say that, you know, you might find this year, you might notice this, let's say, issue, let's say, the following year. And again, talking to your vet, there are potential, let's say, ways of, in terms of surgery, let's say, to remove these. Some of them can rectify themselves over time. But it's just something to be aware of, and say, again, that unless the bull has been properly checked out, it might be missed. Limb and hoof health is really, really important, I think, let's say. And again, I mentioned it earlier, let's say, the kind of long-term issues with maybe higher levels of feeding, and particularly with, you know, high cereal type diets, that you might really see anything in the young bull, but it might be something that might impact upon the longevity of that bull within a particular herd over time. Okay, and obviously there are big investments, you want to get as much as you can, as many calves as you can out of the bull, and you want it to last long within the herd. So maintaining good hoof and limb health is absolutely critical, because again, the semen and the testes are on one side, but the bull has to be able to run the cows, you know, over maybe up to a 12-week period, and inseminate those cows, would say, as they become available for breeding. So again, the locomotory part, would say, or his mobility is equally as important, would say, as the quality of the semen and the amount of semen that he's able to produce. Again, not much information, good quality information is published, but there was one Swedish study there, by Veterinary College in Sweden there a few years ago, and they looked at a bunch of relatively young bulls that were pulled for infertility. And there was no obvious signs of lameness in those bulls, but when they went to the factory, let's say, and collected the hoofs and the limbs of those bulls afterwards, there was a fairly high prevalence of what looked like arthritic lesions, would say, more or less, or issues with the limbs, both the feet and also the joints of those bulls, more so than normal. So it suggested maybe that there could have been, you know, levels of inflammation there, you know, that might have an impact, would say, a negative impact more or less on the fertility of those bulls. So it's just something, would say, that to be aware of, would say, overall. And obviously, would say, when the vets are testing, or I suppose certifying bulls, would say, ahead of sales, that's something that they really need to score, and they do score, would say, as part of the overall certification process. In other words, I suppose the soundness of the limbs of the animals. And anyone that are interclinically breeding, would say, will see these kind of diagrams often in terms of the linear scoring system, would say, they are for different structural traits. And I suppose essentially what we want to see, would say, in any cattle, in a bull, is that, you know, is the confirmation of the limbs are correct, and that is 4 feet, would say, 4 corners more or less there. And any deviations from that, in terms of cingulate, would say, or legs, would say, or bow legs or whatever, that put more pressure on not only the joints but also on the feet, which will equally lead to, I suppose, uneven wear, would say, of hooves, and potentially issues, would say, with overgrown claws, would say, or indeed even things like laminitis, would say, later on. So essentially, you know, it's important, would say, that I suppose, the conformation of the animals' limbs, would say, you know, is very, very important, and just as important, would say, as disclosure or any other part, would say, of the animal's body. Other issues like corkscrew claw, which is again overgrowth, would say, of the outer wall, would say, the hoof, you know, corns in between the cleats, more or less, would say, the hoof, and obviously laminitis, all of those things, would say, they're obviously can affect, would say, the locomotion, would say, the mobility of the bull, which ultimately can affect, would say, his ability to get cows and calf. So I mentioned already, would say there, that, you know, it's very absolutely routine now, I think, would say, for the vast majority of breeding societies and sales, would say, on these islands, in terms of carrying out bull breeding soundness evaluations. And again, ideally, they should be carried out, obviously, would say, by breeders, and to say the young bulls, but by farmers buying bulls as well. Ideally, those bulls should be tested every year, well in advance of the breeding season. And I suppose the advice would be that you get your bull tested, would say, about 2 months before you need them. So that if there's any issues, if there's any evidence of some fertility or anything else, there's some rectification can be done. You can test it again maybe, you know, a month later to see if it's improved, would say, or if he has to be substituted or whatever, would say, that a plan can be put in place before it's too late. So the British Cattle Veterinary Association promoted very good guidelines, would say, on the certification process, which vets would say both GB and throughout the island of Ireland would say have signed up to it, in terms of 4 main steps in bull certification. So there's a physical examination done of the bull in terms of, you know, his mouth, his eyes, his heart, would say, lungs are all checked, his walking, would say, his ability, feet and everything. Semen is collected routinely and examined. Assessment of mating, while it's, you know, ideal, it's not practical in most cases, but you have to have heifer or something, and he should say when the vet comes out of the day. But it's something the farmer should keep an eye on, say, you know, once they purchase a bull. And then that bull is given an overall classification, and I suppose a prognosis as to his potential, say, to get cows and calf. Bulls failing those, you know, criteria, would say, then are classified maybe as unsatisfactory, or they may well be subjected to a retest in measure. Now, it's important to clarify that the system doesn't absolutely say that a bull is fertile or infertile, but it's more the probability of this bull being fertile and to meet, I suppose, the criteria, you know, that would be needed, would say, for any stock bull, would say, to get cows and calf. I mentioned already it's important for it's a criteria that you can't get into most society sales without having this testing. But again, as I say on the ice stations that have invested in tens of thousands of euro or pounds worth of equipment, there's no absolute test that can absolutely predict the fertility of the bull or differentiate between one bull and another as to how fertile it's going to be. But I suppose it's like anything, trying to get as much information as you can to make a good educated, would say, opinion on it overall. Okay, and certainly if there's no sperm there, or if the sperm motility is very bad, or if the vet would say, you know, in his overall testing of the animal would say sees severe issues, would say, or mobility, would say, or maybe heart or lung defects, all of those obviously are going to impact, would say, on the longevity and potential fertility of that bull. Just a few pictures of the typical bull breeding soundness evaluation. Again, the testes would be I suppose, examined in detail. Semen will be collected, generally using electroejaculation to stimulate the bull to release the sample. Again, often, as I say, in the absence of doing this, you're not going to get any kind of information on the health, more or less, of the penis, would say, whether there are any lesions or any issues that could potentially stop the bull from actually being able to inseminate the cow in the first place. So that semen is collected, it's scored, it's looked at under a microscope, would say, and goes to, you know, fairly rigorous, would say, tests. As I said already, the vet would give the bull, would say, an overall, would say, head check. Ultimately, this type of breeding ability or ability to inseminate the cow wouldn't be measured typically routinely, but it's something that farmers buying in bulls in particular, would say, should monitor closely when they buy them, and ideally handmate a few heifers, would say, or cows, would say, before the bull is introduced to the overall herd. And obviously, then if the bull passes, would say, he'll get a certification that will pump him into the sale. Mating management then, we're often asked how many bulls, you know, what's safe and more as heifers or cows to let with a bull. And generally, the kind of rule of thumb is would say that he should be assigned maybe one female for each month of age. Okay? So essentially, if you have a young bull there, would say during his first breeding season, he's going to be between 15 and 20 months of age. Ideally, you know, 20 cows would be kind of the upper limit that you'd safely let with a bull. But obviously, it's going to depend on how well developed he is, you know, what kind of spread you have, let's say, in your calving season, which is going to dictate how many cows will come and heat on average, would say, in any given week or month. So they're all things, but like, the main thing is not to put under too much pressure. And again, as I say, an awful of these young bulls are going to lose anything up to 10% plus of their body weight in the first probably 6 weeks of the breeding season. Important to check, as I said already, you know, throughout always when you're heard from practice and say any issues in terms of locomotion or the bull's ability, would say, to get around, would say there, because obviously that's going to be a major impact on his overall performance. There's no, the key asset test for, you know, there's no, I suppose, test cows any better than the ability of the bull to get cows pregnant. So if a young bull, ideally what you should try to do, as I said, handmate, would say some cows or heifers at the start of the getting them in advance of the breeding season, monitor them, would say, during the first weeks of the breeding season, and ideally they can pull out those cows about a month later and get them scanned, just to make sure that he's getting cows in calf and the kind of weights that you're getting, would say, or what you'd expect. Okay? So just a few statistics then that we've got there from some AI stations, would say, we have measured very detailed, would say, statistics more or less of parameters on as the semen production of young versus older bulls. Just to put it in some kind of context, what you're dealing with. If you take a typical mature bull, it can produce, about 10 mils of an ejaculate. So if you click a single ejaculation form and say would be about 10 mils of semen, that semen would contain about per mil of it, about 1 billion sperm. So it's producing about 10 billion sperm every time he inseminates a cow, for example. Okay? If you take a young bull, he's only producing about a fifth of that. So again, it just puts it in context straight away. The amount of cows that younger bull could cover, we'll say, in any given time compared to the older bull. And that you need to put him under an awful less pressure than an older bull. Okay? Again, just some figures would say, again from the United States, looking at the amount of semen and the quality and the concentration that's sperm, would say, within that semen over time, over different age classes of bulls. And essentially up to about 3 or 4 years of age, bulls are improving all the time in both the volume and the amount of sperm that they can produce. Okay? So they kind of plateau after that, so a bull is up to 3 or 4 years is kind of, I suppose, properly sexually mature, we'll say, at that stage. Young bull management, I mentioned some of these things already, but ideally, you buy them well in advance of when you need them. Okay? Pair, ideally, they would have a heifer, we'll say, or like a lot of these young bulls are pinned individually, and they're on deep beds, we'll say, a straw there, and they're pampered and looked after their kids, and they're not, we'll say, I suppose, used to any kind of hardship whatsoever. Okay? The ideal thing would be that he would be like in a small paddock, we'll say, maybe there's a heifer, we'll say, there, well fenced and monitored, we'll say, and kept away from other cows and heifers, if he's inside, if it's a proper, let's say, a pen, let's say, with a good deep bed and good high gates that he can, if he does detect cows or whatever heat, that he's not going to jump all over that and get horse, let's say, over that pen. Acclimatization to new diet. If you're buying a bull, let's say, from a breeder there, make sure to find out what level of feed and what concentrate he's on, and try to change that diet. So when you take him onto your farm, let's say, introduce the diet gradually, let's say, or reduce the level of feeding gradually over a number of weeks. Okay? And certainly don't make any drastic changes, let's say, to his overall diet. What you want is that he's fit and not fat overall. Okay? So he can afford to lose, we'll say, a bit of addition, but that should be done gradually, we'll say, and not over a short period of time. Observe baby closely, as I said already, and that he's physically large enough. You can get lots of young bulls there that are force-fed or fed, we'll say, at high rates again, they're quite heavy, but they're physically not that well grown, we'll say. So he needs to be, particularly if you have large contingent cows, you need to make sure that he's physically able to mount and to cover the cow in the first place. And that there's no obvious morphological deformities either to his limbs or to the penis or anything else. So, and I mentioned that because, again, there are certain conditions, we'll say there, that while you might be fine otherwise, you won't know until he's actually, we'll say, in the process of making the cow, whether there are issues, we'll say, like this, for example, cortical penis, which obviously is going to affect, we'll say, his ability, we'll say, to mate with the cow, okay? Or other things like what they call persistent frenulum, we'll say, which is just a bit of tissue, piece of tissue that connects the prepuce here to the penis, and normally when the bull undergoes puberty at around 12 months of age, these things would say that this piece of tissue more or less would say detaches itself. But in the small number of bulls, and this is a picture from a bull that we've seen as part of our study or on farm study there recently, when it doesn't detach, and obviously it's going to be very different from that bull would say to mate a cow. And you won't see it unless it's gone through a breeding soundness evaluation. Okay? And I suppose just to finish up then, obviously we'll say again expensive animals, very dangerous animals that are very heavy, we'll say, and a lot of pressure on their limbs, ideally have a purpose-built pin for the bull, we'll say, away from cows and heifers, that's well bedded, and that you can get into, that you can feed them and clean out from them, we'll say, there without having to actually physically get into the pin. So obviously safety absolutely critical when it comes to bulls. Never trust them. So just to summarize the I suppose it's a valuable animal. I don't need to say anything that spends 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 say bulls would say there knows that you need to try to get as much as you can out of them afterwards. So we need special care and attention over and above your typical cow or heifer, and that will hopefully ensure that his functionality and his longevity, as you heard, will meet what their expectations. Is purchase young bulls well in advance of breeding season, can mate a few cows or heifers in advance, make sure you do what you're supposed to be able to do, say, before you're releasing out into the main herd. And that will help to avoid any sob stories or any unforeseen circumstances later on in the season. Ideally, like purchased from a breeder, would say, breeding society. Again, you know, those societies would say, then ones would come and say, generally with insurance as well, you know, which obviously makes that decision to pay out, would say, higher prices for bulls, you know, a bit easier, would say, and that you have that extra bit of, I suppose, comfort in the process. Never assume fertility, either with a young bull, would say, or indeed, would say, certainly an older bull. Okay, don't think just because he was fine last year that he'll always be fine. Always be vigilant, would say, watch out for excessive level of repeats, would say, or issues around, you know, problems with fertility. So ongoing vigilance is important. And obviously, would say, as I said right there, take absolute utmost care of our bulls. You can never trust them, no matter how quiet they might seem, would say, ultimately they're a highly unpredictable animal. So with that, I'll just finish up just to say, again, as part of that conference that we did there, would say, with the British Society of Animal Science last year, we produced a booklet there in conjunction with Colin Penny, you know, a very well-known vet, would say, from Scotland, has done an awful lot of really good work, would say, in terms of, I suppose, determining or putting together, would say, that bull breeding soundness evaluation for the British Cattle Veterinary Association. And that book there, would say, you know, covers an awful lot of information, much more detailed than what I talked about. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you and welcome any questions.